We focus on the heart of the GLP-1 community. Real people, real stories, and the fight for affordable access. By listening, you are supporting our advocacy efforts to make these life-changing medications accessible to everyone who needs them. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective.
Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective podcast. My name is Amanda Bonello, and this podcast supports a charitable nonprofit dedicated to advocating for affordable access to GLP-1 medications, normalizing their use through community-driven storytelling, and empowering individuals through support groups and educational tools. Visit glp1collective.org for more information. Today, I am honored to sit down with Jennifer Sansabrino. She is a fierce and fearless mother who refuses to let outdated narratives stand in the way of her own daughter's health. But she's not just advocating for her child, she's fighting for an entire generation, ensuring that no one has to suffer the way that so many of us have. The GLP-1 Collective stands with the mothers demanding better healthcare for themselves and for their children. I am so excited to meet with you and to hear everything about you and your daughter.
Yes, thank you for thinking of me and for having me on.
Oh my God, thank you. So tell me everything. When and why did you start? And then when and why did your daughter start?
So I have struggled with obesity since about 6 years old. I remember going to Weight Watchers meetings with my mom around 6 under the guise of being there for her when I really knew I was there for me. When I got home and she was having me eat all the points foods that she had bought from the meeting or after the meeting. So I knew why, like at that young age. No matter what I did, I just could not lose weight. They had me in camps and nutritionists and all the programs you can imagine. And then I ended up having bariatric surgery at 19. I remember going into that bariatric surgery kicking and screaming. Like I did not want to have it, but at the time I didn't realize that I was an adult that could have said no. I was a 19-year-old child and listened to whatever my parents told me to do. I was scared is what it was. After I had the bariatric surgery, I lost a lot of weight, but transfer addiction was very real for me. And I started with substances and it took my life down a very difficult path for about a decade. So I had lost weight, but not in the healthiest ways. I ended up getting clean and immediately put the weight back on. Like immediately. Again, went back in that Weight Watcher cycle and the eat less, move more cycle and nutritionists and restriction and all the things. And nothing ever stuck. Like I'd lose a little bit with Weight Watchers and then I'd get bored and I just would be done with it. And like it was just a pattern, like yo-yo, they say. It was a pattern for sure. Both my parents are type 2 and I saw them on Manjaro and my fiance is a type 2 and they're losing weight and I'm like that's not fair. Like that was my thought process at the time. I'm like that's just not fair. And like my fiance is doing great, but he's done his GLP-1 journey very different than me. Like I have done the lifestyle changes along with it and he just kind of is a type 2. He's taking his Manjaro and he's doing what he's always done and he's still losing weight. And like that was just we took different paths. But I'm watching this happen and I'm like, so he and my mom are living the life that I always wanted. I wanted to eat whatever I wanted and either lose weight or not gain weight. It doesn't work that way for most of us. So last January, I went into the doctor and Zepbound had just came out and I said, I want to go on this medication. And she's like, you're a perfect candidate, but I'm going to tell you right now, your insurance does not cover it. And I remember driving to that appointment, like so certain that finally I was going to have a solution. And if this wasn't the solution, like I was just going to have to accept the fact that I was going to be unhealthy the rest of my life. I was insulin resistant. I have PCOS. I was pre diabetic, all the things we all talk about. And when she told me insurance wasn't going to cover it, it was just kind of like, all right, then I'm just going to have to accept this is my fate for the rest of my life. I didn't know anything about compound or anything like that at that point. So defeated, I went home and I went on to TikTok and I started looking at all the GLP-1 creators and listening to what they were doing. And I learned about compound and I researched and I was like, I'm going to give this a try. And in the middle of this, like, when you're overweight, sometimes you have the depression set in and you're anxious all the time and you think everybody's looking at you and it propels your anxiety. So I had mental health stuff going on, not to mention I'm almost 12 years clean, but I am in recovery. So I have that whole element of like mental health as well. And when I went on this medication, like everything quieted down. The weight loss is great, but like my hands don't swell anymore. My feet don't hurt. My knees don't hurt when I get out of bed. And my brain is quiet for the first time. And I don't just mean food noise.
I've got to know, have you had to deal with any extra stigma? Just for yourself first, and then as a mother with your daughter on semaglutide, have you had to deal with any extra stigma?
So putting it on TikTok, I kind of open myself up for it. I have especially on those posts, I have my comments filtered pretty heavily. Like mostly not even for me. Like she's been on this since May. I have heard it all. I've heard all the criticism, not from anybody in like real life besides her doctor that day, but like mostly from people on social media. But the reason that I make those comments filtered is because I would never want another parent to see those comments when this is potential solution for their child and be like, I don't want to engage in this because of them. One of my friends on social media was on a TV segment recently with her child and it aired on YouTube. And some of these responses, I had to go and fight that fight. Like I had to go on that YouTube and just explain to every person because I think it's lack of education. And I think it comes down to people's trauma being imposed on this generation and the things we're now doing as parents. Because I could have easily treated my daughter the same way my parents treated me with this, but I broke the pattern and changed the narrative here. Not everybody does that. So if somebody is saying that we're bad parents for giving our kid a easy way out medication, they're people that learned that somewhere. Their parents probably imposed on them that you don't ever do this, you never do that. And like that's all that they know. So I try to be understanding with people, but there has 100% been more stigma. There's enough stigma when you're just an adult on it. But when you are an adult that has your child on it, like people really don't like that. They really don't like that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm exploring the option for my own twins right now. My parents are both type 2 diabetic. I was borderline prediabetes until I got on this medication, or pre-diabetic until I got on this medication. Now I don't have to worry about that. As long as I can stay on it and we don't lose access completely. I have to ask, so your daughter is on semaglutide right now, and what are you on?
I'm on tirzepatide. So we're both on compound.
Do you have a plan for when semaglutide is officially not being produced anymore? And if we lose access altogether, people, let's just say cease and desist letters go out and these providers start getting sued by Eli Lilly and Novo, and we're not able to get it at all anymore. Do you have a plan?
Yes. As soon as these talks started happening a few months back, I immediately went into planning mode. But I will say, in order to plan effectively, you have to have the financial means to do that. I am fortunate enough to have the financial means to do that. So I feel horrible for the people that don't. Like I have a year's worth of medication in my fridge for both me and my daughter with a plan to shift over to brand and use that time to maybe titrate down so I'm at a lower cost out of pocket and spend that time calling my senator, making noise, getting involved in causes to bring this medication pricing down. So basically, the stockpile I have in my fridge is to buy me the time to hopefully fight the good fight and make a change. I feel for the people that don't have and didn't have the ability to do that because I know not everybody does. I'm just in a fortunate position, but if you had talked to me 2 years ago, if we were here 2 years ago, I would not have been able to have the ability to have a stockpile in my fridge. I feel so awful for the people that can't, but this is also something that I've been working on for months, like buying a extra month here, 3 months there. It wasn't like I did mass 1 year purchases. I've planned ahead and I pray that as many people can have continuation of care as possible. It's a terrifying time. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it really is. Right now, we're working on a way to help people pay for their medication, the cash pay prices, and we're trying to map out if we need HIPAA certification, or if we can work with a nonprofit already helping other people pay for their medications so that we could just bridge the gap and bring awareness to the situation. My hope is that this is our short-term goal, that we're able to do this, because getting out to Washington in October is a longer-term goal. A possible class action lawsuit is a really long-term goal. Advocacy does not happen overnight. So we're trying to find a short-term solution so that no one has to lose access. I know what you mean. As soon as I heard about tirzepatide coming off the shortage list, I jumped into action with the petition, and I've been trying to advocate ever since then. And I've seen you out there advocating, and I have to say, I believe there's nothing stronger than a passionate mother who is protecting her child.
And I thank you. And I don't want any parent to ever feel the hopelessness that I felt last May, maybe last April, because in May, by the time May 1st hit, I had it in my head, she's getting on this medication one way or another. And there was no stopping me. And I reached many closed doors before I finally found a doctor that was willing to prescribe to her. The medication from that doctor was outrageous, but it was less than brand. You know what I mean? So I was willing to pay it until we landed with the telehealth that we're with, where it's affordable. I didn't want parents to have to work as hard as I had to work to navigate their child's mental health, to deal with all the things that come along with that, and have to do the research to find a provider, figure out how to pay for it. So I wanted to do the research for them. And I knew that there was not many people talking about it, because when I was looking for the resource, like, there were 2 or 3 incredible moms sharing their kids' journeys, but 2 or 3 in a big world that TikTok is not a lot of people, and they're very difficult to find. I wanted to make sure people could be found. And in this process, like, I've been able to help my daughter. My daughter's doing great. And also the amount of parents that have reached out to me and that I've been able to, like, guide to certain places, and that follow back up with me and tell me how their child's doing and ask me, what do you do if she feels like this? Like, I get a lot of fulfillment from that. Like, okay, like, it wasn't all for nothing. All that, it wasn't all for nothing. Like, my daughter's helped, other kids are being helped. Let's do this. So I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, that is a really strong experience, I'm sure, being able to have it all be validated.
The day of TikTok going away, when it went away for that moment of silence, a mom reached out to me just to say, hey, I want you to know that you sharing this journey on this platform literally helped save my daughter's life. And I will forever be grateful to you for that. And I cried. And my fiance and my daughter are looking at me like it's just an app. And I was like, you don't understand. You just don't understand.
Just gave me goosebumps. I just got the chills. Yeah, no, you don't get it unless you are, I think, part of a community that is so incredibly strong and supportive, there for each other and helping each other every way that they can. You really don't understand what it's like to lose that. Doesn't matter if it's online or in person, it's still a support circle, and losing that is traumatizing.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say, I know I messaged you and said so, but the couple of times that I've seen someone reach out on Reddit just to a random group, like, hey, I'm thinking about putting my daughter on this, but I don't know whether I should or not. Does anyone have experience with this? People just attacked them. Attacked them. It was so rare to see a positive comment, and there were a lot of comments. People just jumped down their throat, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There is nothing wrong with a mother who is trying to do the very best for her daughter that she can and doing the research to find a solution. They're not just jumping into it willy-nilly. They're looking for support. They're looking for answers. I definitely sent them your way.
Thank you.
Check this one out, because she's awesome and she will answer your questions and help. I know she will.
I will always answer the questions. And when people reach out to me, they don't tell me how they found me. So they may have, you know. The irony in it all is because when you had shared that, it's GLP-1 users that are judging people for putting their kids on GLP-1s, which it's like, okay, so you probably 9 times out of 10, not all the time, but a lot of these people have struggled with this their entire lives. Why not spare a child the suffering that you had? Like, I just can't understand why, especially somebody on this medication, could not reconcile why that would be a good idea. Like, it just doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
I've shared one day, and I fully believe this, that it takes a certain type of parent to be able to put their child on this medication. It has to be a parent that comes from a place of health and never about weight. And like that is one thing I feel really strongly about, because I had a parent reach out to me once and it kept going back to her child's weight. And I had to say to the parent, if you're going to come at it that way with your child, you really shouldn't put them on this medication, because that is how things like eating disorders and even greater mental health issues are bred. You need to make this about health. And if it, because it didn't sound like it was about health for her. And that is really unsettling to me. Like, if my daughter was 500 pounds and healthy, I could care less that she's 500 pounds. But that was not the position that we were in. I think that it takes a certain type of parent to be able to, whether they are in that place or not, to fake it till you make it, because you don't want to impose that on your child. You just don't. You can't, or you're going to cause more harm than the good it'll do.
Poor kid. That's so sad. Did you ever hear back from them?
No. And I'm like, and I tried to like be like, I was patient and I was kind, but I was also like, yeah, you have a kid at home, and if you're talking to me like this, you're probably talking to the kid like this. And I don't like bullies, whether they're parent bullies or student bullies. Like, I don't like bullies, and it gave me bully vibes. And I just don't do well with that. No.
How is your mom taking all of this?
She's been great. I mean, there was a little apprehension when I talked about putting my daughter on. She was fine with me going on, a little apprehensive with me putting my daughter on, mostly because she's very science based. And the fact that the pediatrician ex-nate it made her immediately, I don't know if that's what you should do. However, she also knows that I'm her daughter and that I'm gonna do it if, and I've done the research. Like, there was no like impulse with this. Like, I started the medication in February. In March, I started researching. March and April, every night, every day, I was researching the benefits of this medication. So I think now that my mom, she was apprehensive at first, but when immediately things shifted, she got right on board and has been very supportive ever since.
So, have you and your daughter experienced any symptoms?
I had a little bit of fatigue at the beginning, but yeah, I realized at the beginning that from watching TikTok creators, that I needed to eat more and I needed to drink more water. And I had a couple weeks where I had symptoms like that. Like last week, I changed injection sites. The day after my injection, I was like wanting to vomit. I shouldn't have strayed from the plan. Like, I know what works for me. I've been on this over a year. Like, I'm in maintenance. I know what works for me. And my daughter, like the first 2 weeks, she had a little bit of fatigue after shot day. She ate, she drank water. She hasn't had a side effect since. So we've been very lucky, very minimal side effects. And if we do, they're managed, and it's usually stuff that we caused by not doing things that we should have.
I know that sometimes different foods or not eating certain foods can cause some kind of side effects, like not enough fiber or not enough protein. What is your maintenance dose?
So I am on 10 milligrams in maintenance, but I am on split dosing. So I do, and I know that's a controversial topic in the community, but my provider directs me with split dosing. So what happened was I hit maintenance on 10 milligrams. My original plan was to try to stretch it out to go more than 7 days. By day 9, my inflammation was terrible. So I realized I was going to need to be a weekly injector. So I was like, with my provider directing me, let's move down to 7.5 and see how that works. Move down to 7.5. By day 4, my inflammation was bad. And I'm just like, this is like my body took to 10. Like, I've been on 10 9 months. Like, I never got above 10. 10 was like immediately when I took my first dose of 10 milligrams, I was like, this is it. Everything came together. This is where I need to be. The problem was when I was on 10 in maintenance, like I moved back up from 7.5, continued losing. So I ended up getting 10 pounds under goal because I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't want to live with the inflammation, but I couldn't lose any more weight. Like, I just can't. So with my providers talking with me about this, they said, well, why don't you try 5 on a Tuesday and 5 on a Friday and see if that holds you. I've been doing that for like 3 or 4 months, and it's been maintaining perfectly. But that's a benefit of compound. If I go on brand, I'm not going to be able to do that. So that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been curious about how split dosing works for some people, but I know that there was another woman who said she was in maintenance and her provider were trying to figure out how long they could stretch it out. And they got to 10 days and her arthritis came back and it was super painful. Her inflammation came back and she's like, I really cannot do it or more than 7 days a week. I can't make it. So
Absolutely. It's crazy. And I never thought when I started this medication that I was in a car accident when I was a teenager where I have plates and pins in both legs. So I have terrible arthritis from my knees down in both legs. I have not had one issue with that since I started this, other than when I went to drop down from 10 to 7.5. And I was like, I struggled to get out of bed. And I'm like, I can't live like this anymore. I've learned to live without it now. Like, I just can't do this again. I'm grateful that my provider's open-minded enough to allow split dosing because I know that it's a relatively new thing and not every provider is.
I agree. That's awesome. I've been hearing about microdosing too, and I'm curious to see what comes up with that next. So I'm sure there will be some application for it helping with something, maybe not obesity, but with something. If this year of your supply runs out, compound is gone, would you see yourself paying the full price, cash pay prices for you and your daughter?
Definitely for my daughter. If I could only afford one medication, it's going to be Wegovy for my daughter. Luckily, I am in a financial position. I own a business. I do okay for myself, where I would be okay and it wouldn't be fun, but to swing a mortgage payment basically for both me and my daughter's medication. At that point, I would try everything in my power to be able to make my body be okay with dropping down to a lower dose because the vials at a lower dose are less money. With Novo Care now, her vials that or whatever they're offering through Novo Care will be a little bit less for Wegovy as well, but it's still a lot of money. So I'm also like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and a lot can happen in a year. We don't know if prices will go down. We also don't know if the medication will go back in shortage. However, I'm very apprehensive that they would ever self-report that they're back in shortage ever again because of how loaded this situation has been. So I don't think that's going to be the option. But there's also, and I know it's like we talked about this the other day, I know it's not ideal, but if need be, liraglutide, I think we can still get through compounding. That wouldn't be my first choice, but I also think retatrutide is coming out soon. That'll immediately go into shortage. So we will have options, hopefully, throughout that. Like once we get towards the end of that time, I think it's going to level out a little bit, but it's just a matter of buying us the time until it does. And that's why I'm really hoping what I have in my fridge is enough to do that. But I am prepared to pay for brand for both of us, but especially her if need be. But again, not everybody is that fortunate. I recognize that I am blessed in that regard because I wasn't always in that position, you know?
So I have a controversial question. I'm just curious about your thoughts. What do you think or feel about the people who are going to the gray web and purchasing gray? What are your thoughts and feelings on that and research peptides?
You know what's funny is I have a draft in TikTok that I have not posted yet because I'm a little bit afraid of the pushback I'm going to get for it.
Me too. Same thing.
First and foremost, I understand why people are doing that. I think that the insurance companies, the PBMs, even the manufacturers at a certain point have pushed people into the point where they have found the solution to a problem they didn't know could be fixed. Now they've had a taste of it, and nothing is going to stop them from getting that treatment. I understand that. My thing is, and I kind of see it from a different perspective, I wouldn't give it to my daughter. I just wouldn't give it to my daughter. If I wouldn't give it to my daughter, why would I give it to me? And that's just for me. So like this is the post, this is the draft. Like from a mom's perspective of a kid on this medication, and I fully understand why people are doing this. I just wouldn't feel comfortable giving it to her, and I met her too. So if I wouldn't give it to her, why would I give it to myself? You know, that is my perspective on that. But it's like a double-edged sword because I totally understand why people are doing this. Like I totally understand. I get it. I think it's desperation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are sick people who have suffered their entire lives and they're just seeking the solution that they've already found. I feel like once you've had that food noise go away, there's no going back. At that point, you're desperate. and people are obviously willing to do desperate things. And yeah, I also have a draft because I can't, for multiple reasons, I cannot say it's okay. I can't. But I also, like you said, 100% understand. My heart goes out to all of those people. And you and I, what we're doing, advocating for this, is also for them. And I feel like they don't totally, a lot of them don't totally get that. And I just want everyone who is taking these other routes to know that we're here for them too. We're not judging. We understand, but you're right. You wouldn't give it to yourself, you wouldn't give it to your daughter. It's dangerous. Multiple fronts. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and I just think it's scary. And I know certain telehealths are planning to continue on as long as they can under medical necessity. And I hope to God that works. But I don't think it's gonna. And I hate saying that because I want to so badly have this hope, and so and so and so and so are continuing on, and we've planned for this for months. I just don't think it's going to work. And I wish I did. And I think that there's a lot of people in the compound community right now who are putting so much faith into these telehealths that are saying we're going to continue on. And when it all comes crumbling down, which again, like I hope to God it doesn't, but my gut tells me it's gonna. And all these people didn't prepare because they had so much faith in these affiliates in this telehealth. Like I affiliate with a telehealth company, and I am very vocal that I am not loyal to that telehealth company. I am loyal to accessibility. Granted, they are not one of the ones that is going to continue on. They're just going to stay with the compliance and try to help their patients navigate this transition. But if that was the route they were taking, I still would not be saying this is. I would struggle to advocate or to promote that because I don't think that is a long-term solution. I feel more safe with a year's worth of meds in my fridge than with a telehealth company saying we're just going to continue month to month and hope that the compound pharmacies still fill. Like I am not putting my peace of mind and my daughter's health in that uncertainty. And I think there's going to be a lot of patients that are caught off guard because they're just putting their faith into that. And I pray for them because that's going to be such a hard hit.
I agree. I agree 100% because, like I said, in October, when tirzepatide was taken off the shortage list initially, I saw this coming and I reached out to people in all of these different social settings. And like Reddit was the first place I went. I went to Instagram, I came here, and I got a lot of pushback from every community. People on semaglutide were like, it's just tirzepatide that was taken off the shortage list. And I'm like, honey, semaglutide is next. And then people who were using brand name through insurance were like, it doesn't affect us. And then people who were using tirzepatide were like, I'm not worried about it. My pharmacy said that they're going to just mix with B12 or something. I really wouldn't want to take my chance on the fact that Eli Lilly and Novo are already sending out cease and desist letters. They've been after Compound since it started, once they realized they were losing money to it. And they're not going to stop. And they've got lots of lawyers. I feel like the will it, won't it, FDA is like, okay, you can keep compounding until this date. Okay, you can keep compounding until after we figure out what we're doing in trial. All of that stuff really made people kind of deaf to the warning signs, and they just kind of stuck their head in the sand, and they're like, I can't keep dealing, and I understand this, with the anxiety roller coaster of, is my medication going to get taken away or not? There were people on Reddit that were like, does anyone else feel silly for stockpiling a year's worth of medication now that we still have compound? And I'm like, oh my gosh, give it a couple months, you're going to be so glad you got that stockpile.
100%. And I just feel like there's a lot of misguided hope on TikTok right now. And I'm just like, there's a creator that I absolutely love and adore. And she gets a lot of hate because she tells the truth. And her delivery is sometimes kind of questionable. But she comes from a place of like, I would rather you be prepared than like me. And that is why I have always loved her and respected her. And she has a child on this medication. She was one of the first people that I got to know in this as well. She has been saying all along, you need a plan A, B, and C. And I listened to her. And I'm so happy that I listened to her because my plan A was to continue on, B was to stockpile, and C was to figure out a way that I could budget to shift at least my daughter over to brand if need be. Like I needed all those three things. She got so much hate for that because she started sharing about it back in October, and people were like, you're fear mongering. No, she's trying to have you prepare. People didn't want to hear it because it was affecting the way that certain telehealths could promote their product. And I am also a big believer we need as many telehealths as possible because this community is huge and I think we all need to work together. It's not a battle of the telehealth, but I do think that there is a responsibility when you are a telehealth company or an affiliate with a telehealth company to prepare people and not it needs to be less about views, enrollments and ego and more about accessibility because if you're telling people something is definitely not going away, you're lying because you don't know that. And that is so unsettling to me and bothers me so bad. So bad.
Yeah, me too. And that was a big part of the problem. When I'd first gone over to Instagram, no one was talking about it at all. At all. And I was like, aren't you guys worried? Like reach out. It's like sign this petition, sign this petition. I got one signature. There was one person who was like, "Oh yeah, Compound's been really good to me and I support it and, don't want it to go anywhere. I'll sign this." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." But yeah, everyone was just like, "I'm not worried because my provider is going to do this, this, and this, and they said it's not a problem." And then I go on Reddit and they're like, "My doctor said that they're not worried because compound pharmacies are going to fight back." And then come over to TikTok and it was the first time that I'd seen anyone even talk about it. And that's when I stuck here because I was like, "Thank you so much." My first video on TikTok was me replying to someone else's video where they were talking about it going away potentially and what they were going to do.
I think it was me. I think it might have been me.
I don't remember. I don't remember who it was, but I was like, "Thank you so much for talking about this because no one is talking about this."
I honestly think it was me. I'm gonna look, but I'm pretty sure it was. I'm very careful with the way I word this, like with what I'm saying right now on TikTok, because one of the things I love about the telehealth that I am with is that one of the first things that they said to me when I onboarded was, "We will not say a negative thing about another telehealth because we're all in this together." And I respected the crap out of them because I've seen some telehealths go cutthroat at each other, and they were like, "You are a representation of us. We handle ourselves with dignity and grace, and you do not get involved in that drama." So we don't get involved in that drama. So when I see people saying it's definitely not going away, it like I have to bite a hole through my tongue because I don't want to I respect my telehealth enough where I'm not going to get involved in that, but I need to tell people the truth. I just need to. So I'm careful with the way I word it and I do think it's commendable that these telehealths are not going down without a fight, but they need to make sure they are telling people the truth that they can't guarantee a thing. They just can't.
Yeah, I did see your video saying that you were loyal to accessibility and that you weren't playing games. You got your stockpile just in case. And I did respect that a lot. And I know I commented on it too. I was like, yeah, this needs to be heard.
This is not about Zappy or because I'm with Zappy or whoever else. This is about the fact that we are sick people that need treatment and we need to figure out how to get that treatment without blindly following somebody who just says, "Yeah, don't worry about it. It's only the federal government and federal court. It's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal." It's a big deal.
This is the first time I've really gotten into an in-depth conversation with someone about this medication disappearing. Every time that the interview's about to end, I do ask, like, what would you do if you lost access? Because I knew it was coming and I wanted to know and I wanted people to hear about it. But yeah, this is the first time I've really dove deep into it and I really appreciate that. So this is what I'm all about.
I could talk about this all day because, like I said, I have to not censor myself, but be careful with the way that I say it on TikTok and social media in general, because I don't want to offend anybody and I don't want to make it seem like I am against these telehealths for attempting to continue to provide access, because that is not the case at all. But what I doesn't sit well with me is giving people the feeling that they are safe when you can't guarantee that. You can try, but you can't guarantee it.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Mhm.
What do you think would happen to you and your daughter if, let's just say, it's Bizarro World and it's no longer available at all and there's no GLP-1 coming, they're just not available anymore?
I think that we would both gain the weight back because I've seen how that has happened. And she would probably maybe not go totally back to the extent of the mental health that she was in, because I do think part of it was hormonal with age and she's getting older now. But I do think she would struggle and I know that I would struggle and it would be a very sad place because we have found a solution, and now that you've found the solution, not having access to it would probably be even more difficult than never having known it existed.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And that's what I was saying with once you've had that food noise go away,
Yeah.
there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the boogeyman at this point. When you start to think maybe it's creeping back in, it's like you know that boogeyman is there and you're just in constant anxiety, wondering when it's going to come back.
Yep.
I couldn't imagine.
Yep. Exactly.
So, what are your advocacy plans from here on, and what have you done so far? I know you've been very loud on TikTok, and thank you so much for it.
That is a lot of it. Like TikTok and then talking to people in like my social circles and outside of social media. One of the biggest, and this may not sound like a form of advocacy, but for me, it felt like one was when I went back to her pediatrician's office. I brought journal articles with me. I brought as much data as I could, including my daughter, whose body is the data, saying, hey, you guys need to educate yourselves because this is where we were. Here's labs that her other provider ran so you could compare them. Here is what JAMA said. Here is what National Institute of Health said. Like, these are the articles you need to educate yourself with so another parent doesn't come in here and you just shut them down without having any knowledge. You want to shut them down after reading it, that's one thing, but to shut them down because you don't know is a totally different ball game. So trying to educate people and then trying to find ways to advocate, like on a small scale, I'm helping parents as they're coming to me. I'm trying to get the message out there so parents can find solution if they need it. Like you're the bigger scale one. Like you know what to do in that regard. I just don't know.
I think that everything you just said is so incredibly important. And if more people were doing that, it would be this whole movement would be growing just exponentially. A lot of people are afraid of even saying they're on the medication. I mean, a lot. I was shocked at how many names on social media are like secret MJ jabber,
Yeah.
secret journey, like, and then the amount of people that I met in real, like in my life, vicariously through my family members that are secretly taking this medication and just came out of the woodwork when they found out about the petition blows my mind. And if every one of us went to our doctors with that information, because there are healthcare providers that just don't have the time, for whatever reason, don't look into it themselves because they need to look into it themselves for continuous education.
Mm-hmm.
If every one of us brought this information to our doctors and advocated and, for the people around us when they showed stigma, shared our experiences with people who were looking for answers, then I think it would make a way bigger difference. So thank you for doing what you do. I really, really appreciate it. And I know all of the mothers do. And I am so excited that I got the chance to speak with one of them, one of the coolest ones.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for all you're doing. Like this is huge. And our community in general thanks you.
Well, I just hope that we're able to really make a difference and help everyone in every single way that we can. You coming on this podcast is a huge part of that. So I really appreciate you, Jen, and I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'll see you later. I'm going to follow up on your story in a couple months. I want to see how you guys are doing. And I'll keep following you on TikTok and watching your journey.
And I'll tag you in that JAMA article.
Thank you. Well, I'll see you later.
Yes, talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the GLP-1 collective.